today's cup of coffee, we have a story that comes from Mysterious Universe, and by Nick Redfern. He's not quite as flowery as Mr. Swanser. That's a good thing.
That is a good thing. It doesn't fluff it up that much.
Yeah, Mr. Redfern seems to get more to the point.
That's appreciated.
It is very appreciated for this. He has written an article on September the 15th of 2021 that is entitled "The Magical Little People of Centuries Gone Are Not So Gone After All."
Really?
That's what he says. And he goes on, Mr. Redfern goes on to write, "Goblins, fairies, trolls, sprites, and brownies." Those are things that we think of as far as long gone.
Yeah.
He said, but what about those people who claim to have seen such things in relatively recent times? I think I had questioned that several weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he says that Wirt, W-I-R-T.
Wirt. What does that mean?
It's a name. Wirt Sykes was U.S. consul to Wales, and he was a noted expert on Welsh folklore and the author of an acclaimed 1880 book, British Goblins. I need to add that to the collection.
You do?
And Sykes...
I think that would be a good book.
I think so. Sykes wrote of the hairy little Bwbach.
Bwbach.
That it, quote, unquote, or quote first, is the good-natured goblin which does good turns for the tidy Welsh maid who wins its favor by a certain course of behavior recommended by long tradition. The maid, having swept the kitchen, makes a good fire the last thing at night, and having put the churn filled with cream on the whitened hearth with a basin of fresh cream for the Bwbach on the hob, goes to bed to await the event. In the morning she finds, if she's in luck, that the Bwbach has emptied the basin of cream and plied the churn dasher so well that the maid has to but give a thump or two to bring the butter in a great lump. Like the Eliel, it so much resembles the Bwbach does not approve of dissenters and their ways, and especially strong is its aversion to total abstainers. End quote. People did not talk the same then as they do today.
I mean, that's quite evident, but...
So what it is that the Welsh maid, that she would clean the kitchen. This is why we don't have a Bwbach. It's true. Anyhow, she would have the churn ready.
Okay.
As far as churning butter. She would leave a separate little dish for the Bwbach. And that during the night, he would churn the butter to where all she had to do is just give it a couple of other churns.
All right.
And then just take the butter out. Bless.
Thank you.
See, this is why I've got the camera pointed at the goldenrod across the road. This is why the allergies are so horrible.
God.
But anyhow, I thought that was pretty cool. And says the Bwbach is largely forgotten today, but encounters with the small, hairy, man-like figures in the UK are certainly not. And John Downes says of such matters, quote, "I have many similar reports of such creatures being seen in the Devonshire woodland," unquote. Blue, you may see some of these if you're down that way.
Yeah.
And
tell us about it if you do.
Yeah, really. Mr. Downes is of the Center for Fortunian Zoology. And he says that the next incident was in Churston Woods, which is situated close to the English holiday resort of Torbay.
All right.
And, quote, over a 6-week period in the summer of 1996, 15 separate witnesses reported seeing what they could only describe as a green-faced monkey running through the woods.
Monkey!
Granted, some of the descriptions were quite vague, but most of the witnesses told of seeing a tailless animal about 4 to 5 feet tall with a flat olive green face that would run through the woods and occasionally would be seen swinging through trees.
All right.
Now, to me at least, this sounds like some form of primitive human, but again, of course, such things simply cannot exist in this country, and yet they seem to. In this area, Devon, Somerset, and Cornwall, is rich with such tales, you know, end quote. I don't know that I have ever, are there monkeys that have green faces?
Hey Siri, are there monkeys with green faces?
Okay, I found this on the web for other monkeys with green faces.
Vervet monkeys.
So it could have possibly been some kind of a monkey
Could
if
be.
they have an olive green face.
Let's
But
see.
he's still in the search. We should have done this beforehand. I know that there are different monkeys and primate species that some of them are quite colorful. But for this to be in England, that would be rather unusual from what I understand.
Do y'all got monkeys over there?
We have them down in Florida now.
We
so,
do? Oh, I need to go to Florida.
No, well, I don't know. They've got those giant boa constrictors too.
There's no monkeys with green that I see.
Okay, well, that was what I was wondering. Jason.
There's some with blue.
Yeah. Jason Hill related details to Mr. Redfern in 2008. Quote, my dad was visiting a friend in Heath Hayes in England. This friend sadly died in the early 1990s, so I'm afraid the details are second-hand. Even so, my dad is not the sort of person for tall tales, and the details he repeated to me last Sunday were the same as he told me 30-plus years ago. It was back in 1959, and Dad was at his mate's house talking when his friend's mother pipes up, look, in the newspaper, your little green man. The newspaper story, Dad thinks it was the Express and Star or the Conic advertiser, told of a little girl from Pye Green, an area of Conic, England, running back home to her mother in tears. When questioned, she said a little green man had run from the undergrowth and frightened her. Dad waited his chance and raised the question. His friend, who was very embarrassed, said that in the summer of 1958 he played cricket for the General Electric Corporation at Stafford, his place of work, and cycled back home later than normal because across the Cannock Chase. On a weaving part of the road, he saw something in the headlight of his cycle. The something he saw ran into the road, stopped, and then ran back into the trees. He described it as a little green man.
That is very interesting.
I'd say that
I like
sort
that.
of freaked out quite a bit.
Yeah, I would freak out too, but that's still really cool.
And in November of 2008, a strange story surfaced from Wanstead, a suburban area of the borough of the City of London. According to the witness, a small Bigfoot-type creature was supposedly seen wandering in Epping Forest, which is an area of forest land which was first referenced in the 17th century but has existed since Neolithic times, and in the 12th century was designated as a royal forest by King Henry III. Neil Arnold described how the odd story began. Quote, the animal was first sighted during early November by 18-year-old angler Michael Kent, who was fishing with his brother and father in the Hollow Ponds area of Epping Forest on the border of Wanstead and Leytonstone. The teenager claimed that whilst walking towards his brothers, he heard a rustling in the bushes and saw the back of a dark, hairy animal about 4 feet in height that scampered off into the woods. So they got many big feet over there.
Many big feet.
And then there was another one that caught sight of this beast, and that was Irene Dainty. How would you like to have a last name of Dainty? If you're female,
Dainty.
I can see that working, but if you're male, that's kind of embarrassing.
Just a tiny bit.
Dainty. And she claimed to have had a face-to-face encounter with the thing on Love Lane, Woodford Bridge. And she told the newspapers, quote, I had just come out of my flat, and just as I had turned the corner, I saw this hairy thing come out of nowhere. I really don't want to see it again. It was about 4 feet tall with really big feet and looked straight at me with animal eyes.
Big feet!
Then it leaped straight over the wall with no trouble at all and went off into the garden of the Three Jolly Wheelers pub. I was so terrified that I went to my neighbor's house and told her what had happened. She couldn't believe it and asked me if I had been drinking. But I said, of course I hadn't. It was only about 3 p.m.
Only 3 p.m. Any
Well,
later.
some people have got, it's like it's 3 o'clock somewhere at some
Any
point.
later, I would have been blackout drunk.
So, but I thought that was really cool as far as, this is what I had wondered if people still had sightings of these creatures of yore.
It would be interesting.
Well, I think it's like anything else that, we've got UFOs and aliens and different things like that that seem to have replaced a lot of these earlier creatures.
Right, yeah.
And maybe it's just that these earlier creatures are now described as aliens, or thought to be aliens.
It could be because, like, you look in the ocean, there's a lot of creatures that are still there that look very alien-like.
Well, there's still a lot of creatures that
Alien.
people, back with the scientists who think that they know
anglerfish is one
everything.
that looks very alien-like.
Sure, but there's a lot
Same for
of
the blobfish.
beings that people told people about, and because that they had not been seen for decades or centuries, the scientists, in their infinite wisdom, determined that these things were either extinct or that they had never existed, until some of them turn up.
Yeah.
But how many of these people do you ever hear
A lot
about
of them have egg on
humbling
their face.
themselves and going, you know what, I was wrong?
None.
If we were wrong about this, what else could be out there?
None of them say anything about their mistakes.
So I know that there was some kind of creature that sort of looked like a zebra hybrid thing that came up. There's been quite a few of aquatic animals that were thought to be extinct for thousands of years that have shown up.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the kiwis to come back.
Well, that would be good.
Love
Kiwis
the
would be good.
kiwis.
Dodo birds.
Dodo birds.
Hey, they said that they have recovered dinosaur DNA. And with today's technology, do we, like I said, just because you can do a thing does not
We want
mean
the
you
dinosaurs
should
back.
do a thing. We don't really need T-Rex roaming the land.
I do.
No,
Kill
you
off some
don't.
of
They
people.
ate people.
That's what I just said. Kill off some of the people. I'm fine with
I
that.
think that they're going to stand in line behind some of these other groups that's on their agenda.
They can eat the bad guys.
That's not how it was. They
Real
didn't-
life Jurassic Park.
They had this brain the size of a walnut, supposedly, so they're not going to be able to determine what is good and what is bad.
Reptar.
So,
You can get the real life Reptar.
but one of the articles as I was researching this one, as far as sightings either of Loch Ness Monster or something related to the Loch Ness Monster, and that these, have been theorized to be prehistoric beasts that survived.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's highly feasible. They're aquatic. The oceans didn't totally freeze over during these ice ages.
No.
I'm sure that there's bound to have been different caverns and different things like that to where, as far as if they need to occasionally breathe air, that they could have surfaced for that. If they're large enough, they could have maybe poked a hole in the ice in thin places.
Yeah.
So for me, it's quite feasible that these things could still be.
Mm-hmm. And if they are, I would love to see some of them.
Well, and,
Woolly
Loch Ness,
mammoths.
and Blue could tell us a lot more about Loch Ness because he's been there. But it's not a closed, body of water. I think that it does open out into the ocean at some point. It very well could be that when they have done these expeditions trying to find Nessie, that it was not there in the loch at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of things out there that people have become blinded to also.
Absolutely there is.
So, yeah. So you folks from the UK
Yeet.
and stuff, if you've had experiences with this type of sighting, if you know somebody who has, that would be phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely.
Ask
I would love
around.
to hear...
Ask around. Because some people may have seen things and they just, until somebody asks, they don't want to talk about it.
Exactly. But we do.
Absolutely, we do. And
Give
this
us the stories.
well, it's a matter of providing people a place to share, and to do this anonymously if that's what they choose.
Yeah, if they want to do that
Anonymously.
anonymously,
It's usually me that gets tongue-tied.
anonymously, go ahead. We would actually love that.
Yeah. So, anyhow, these creatures, they still out there.
Yeah.
Well, and Green Jay saw the fairies, and I think it's just the coolest thing ever
The
to
fairies are
communicate
around us.
with somebody that has experienced the fairy folk.
The fairies are all around us. We just can't see them because we're.
Well, I think a lot of that. Well, think about this. It's like the world is totally different. We have all these factors now, stuff that's in our water, our air, our food, our earth, that very much could prevent us from seeing these creatures.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyhow,
Yeah.
the Bwbach.
Bwbach.
No. It was
Bwbach.
I had to look up the pronunciations, and I hope I have done the best that I could, because
You gotta get the phlegm in there.
Welsh and some of the Celtic languages are very different.
You gotta get that phlegm
But
in there.
well, it's like saying Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
So but it's interesting trying to learn different languages also. So
Yeah.
I hope I did it justice.
I know I didn't, but that's okay. I don't mean any ill will.
Hey, we've seen what people do with our dialect.
That's true.
Anytime that there is a bad guy, you can almost guarantee it's going to have some kind of dialect close to ours.
Sometimes that's true, but look at Harley Quinn though. She's technically a bad guy, but she's from New Jersey.
Well, let's look at Hollywood, and are they really the good guys that are calling other people bad guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyhow, if you have, I'm going to stop there, I'm not going to get political. If
Actually,
you've
she's
had
from New York,
experiences with the paranormal and supernatural, encounters with UFOs, aliens, cryptids,
Mm-hmm.
the fairy folk, the Bwbach,
Bwbach.
Bigfoot,
Babadook.
little Bigfoot, mini Bigfoot,
Minifoot.
and anything like that, if you've got local, regional, family myths, legends,
We would love to hear those.
share any of those at cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com, and the email address is always in the description box.
Yes.
So I had fun with this one. I had fun with all of them, but I thought that was really
this
cool.
one too.
Yeah,
This one is really awesome.
I like to think that there was little green face things swinging through the trees over there
I
where
would love to see
Yates and
that.
Blue are.
I would love to see that.
You never know. So you all have a beautiful, blessed day. I hope you're not allergic to the goldenrod. Hey, at least through the camera we can show it without y'all having to experience the pollen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I only sneezed once during this
You
whole
did good. You did good. So,
thing. Yeah.
we'll see you on the next cup. Bye.
Mini feet. Monkeys.